Here we are. Hello.
Hi,
Everybody.
what's going on? What up?
Howdy, y'all.
Hello. Talking about gluttony today, the 7 Deadly Sins series, which we've figured out none of us really ever had to deal with worrying about the 7 Deadly Sins because we're all Protestants. We were. But we thought because Christmas is around the corner and there are a lot of holidays and other things going on where we eat a ton. I can't talk today. Somebody else talk for me. That we would talk about how much we love / hate eating food and enjoying the sin of gluttony. So, yeah. So how's everybody today? How's everybody doing?
Hungry.
Good.
Yeah. Of course, the day we're talking about food, Mrs. Snarky hasn't eaten all evening.
Well, I had a very light dinner compared to what I usually have, so.
Ate a pretzel. What'd you eat?
Well, we had breakfast for dinner, so I had a couple of biscuits and a couple of pieces of sausage, but that didn't hold me very long.
Yeah.
I'm doing pretty good. I had a very yummy Thanksgiving dinner in England. Hi, ladies. Hi, ladies, by the way. Excuse me. Pardon me. I need to get a drink. I have a little bit of a phlegmy throat.
Not really gluttony, right?
Hmm?
Is drinking technically gluttony? Do we have someone on background? Have us on background because I hear back. Maybe it's me. Oh, it's
Hi,
me.
Rachel.
Rachel's here. Rachel,
Hi.
gluttony. Have you eaten any big meals recently?
Yeah, I've been eating a lot lately.
Yeah. So I have a question. When y'all deconverted, I don't deal with stress by eating, but some people do. So I'm wondering if you deconverted, if you like ate a ton.
I had been losing weight before, like before I deconverted.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I'm only up like 10 pounds from where I was, but I did gain weight after I deconverted.
That's the freshman 15.
What?
Deconverted 15, like the freshman.
Yeah. I definitely eat when I get stressed and when I'm trying to like stuff down feelings that are uncomfortable. So like I had made some progress on that and then I deconverted and then like but I mean it hasn't been like awful, but yeah, I'm trying to work on that now. So yes, I did.
Good. Yeah.
I also eat when I'm stressed. And just have to watch like my stress snacking habits. So I definitely did that. But also, Chrissy, you had mentioned alcohol, and I don't know if that falls into this category, but I think we should talk about alcohol too.
We can. Yeah.
Because that is, I mean, I've had a very different relationship, to alcohol post deconversion. I don't know if it's similar for all of you, but in the church that we grew up in, Christine and I grew up in, and especially in my family, we like alcohol was like evil. You don't really, we didn't really touch it. We never had alcohol in my house growing up. So I have, one of the things I've enjoyed doing post deconversion is learning how to develop a taste for different alcoholic beverages and like learning what I like and learning how to drink responsibly for my body. But that was a long process because I started late. So I don't know if it's similar for all of you, like if you've had similar
interesting
experiences.
Yeah, I tried alcohol for the first time like probably a little under a year ago.
Okay.
She
and like,
deconverted.
I know nothing.
A bottle of vodka.
Whenever I go out with people, I'm like, what are you having? What are you having? Can I try what you're having? What's that called? What's in that? Oh, is that good? Do you like that? Like, yeah, I know nothing.
You're such a peach. I absolutely love you. You are. You really are. Well, I didn't have any problems with alcohol. My gluttonous thing was pills. So this March will be 3 years since I've been clean. So I've used them for 7 years, 8 years. So it almost took me out. You know, that whole opioid outbreak crisis thing that's going on. Yeah, it almost got me.
Wow.
But drinking's never been a really big thing to me. 'Cause I kind of I usually run pretty like wound up. Like I'm a pretty high octane type of person. Like I'm going. So I've usually stayed away from stuff that is going to slow me down. And then I get on benzos, and that's like a sedative, but it would do the opposite to me. So come to find out, my body processes opiates and stuff a bit differently than most people. It immediately metabolizes it into morphine. So it's just like, I was just like a heroin addict to a degree, but never touching heroin. So
Interesting.
weird.
Did it have anything to do with your deconversion, or was it just
Well, with my story, I mean, I kind of figured it out by the time I was 7 years old. Like,
that's right, I remember.
yeah. So, but no, mine was more of a just excuse me. My youngest daughter, she has mosaic Down syndrome. And whenever she was born, that was a bit of a traumatic experience. So they put me on this antidepressant and this, that, and the other because it's terrifying. She had heart problems. She was really sick. She was in the NICU and all that stuff. So once they put me on that stuff, it was a crutch to a degree. And then it was just, it turned into a habit to where that's what I had to do every single day just to get out of bed and function and be and have like happy feelings and stuff like that. So it's that's where it pretty much began. Now when I was a teenager, I think I drank a Jack Daniels what were they called? It's like a kind of a fruity drink, but Jack Daniels makes them, and they were teens. I think I had that when I was like 16 years old. And then just did the normal teenage drink at parties and stuff like that, but never anything where it became habitual. But alcoholism does run in my family, and my family's highly religious, so it kind of worked out for that part of my family that would have become addicted to alcohol. If the religious part hadn't have said no alcohol, no dancing, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a weird balance in a way. But then of course they're all killing themselves with high blood pressure because they eat everything in sight. So
yeah, you know, it's you do see some. I mean, you know, obesity is everywhere. You know, gluttony is everywhere. It's not just in the church or around the church. I'm sure it's like one of those things that is really hard to tackle. Generally, and it's something like you can hide lust, you know, you can hide pride, you can hide a lot of the other sins. You can't hide gluttony as well. And I feel like it's one of those sins that you wear. I mean, I can't hear a ton, you know, I'm sure people want to punch me in the face right now because they're like, you have no idea. I've always been like really thin. And so I understand though, because, well, I don't understand, but I have my own version because I was always like worried about food and, you know, being too skinny. And I always felt left out of, you know, those conversations. This is like, oh, she doesn't know, which is true. You know, I don't really know the struggle. So
yeah, there's a lot of pressure put on women to like look a certain way. Even like, I think if a woman doesn't feel that, then she's like really lucked out that I don't know exactly why, but I think most women struggle with that. Yeah, I've been overweight for most of my life.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but since you brought that up, before I lose this train of thought, Do you think that's more because of how we relate to men, or do you see it more as a competition between other women? I'm asking you this before you start talking about this. Don't answer me yet. Just finish what you were saying, and then we'll kind of come back to it, because I want to hear what you have to say since you're so much younger than me. I'm just interested. I'm interested. So, all right, continue. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on women.
Yeah. So, I've been overweight most of my life, and I was overweight through high school, and I don't know. I'm not that sensitive about it. Like, it's just kind of a fact. Like, I have not struggled with it hugely. Like, but you're right. It, like, a lot of people, I mean, everyone works through issues. Everyone has things that they're working on in their life, right? But if you struggle with your weight and you use food to cope, then, or whatever, then people see it. And it's something that, you know, you find out who those like nice understanding people are, who are going to look at the person that you are rather than just what you look like. And then you find out who is just shallow and is going to judge you and make assumptions about you because of the way you look. So
yeah, and you get to find out who the bullies are, because for some reason there are people out there that think that fat shaming is going to like encourage people to lose weight, when it does the exact opposite. It stresses them out enough to where they have to eat more because they're stressed.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'm gonna call you on that one. I'm gonna call you on that one because I'm addicted to pills, and pills are everywhere. And I could say the exact same thing that you're saying right now. I could say the exact same thing that you're saying and get away with it, because what I have is like, at this point, I've damaged my brain to the point where I have to make sure that my husband helps me to check my behavior. And he's not always nice about it. Like, he's always caring, but every once in a while he's like, he has to say something to get my attention, because
I think it really depends, though. If you're coming from a place of, I love you, this is what you're doing, this is not okay, I think that's great. I think you need people in your life who are going to call you out. But random people on the street telling you, this is wrong with you, you need to fix it. You're like, you don't care about me. Do you see the difference?
As a mom, let me tell you, as a mom, I would tell my girls the exact same thing that I'm going to tell you right now. Fuck people on the street, sweetheart. If they're not fucking you, if they're not fucking you, or they're blood related to you, don't give a shit.
Yeah,
because you'll wear yourself out doing that.
Okay. Yeah, and that's the context from which I was speaking, was the people that just fat shame people that they don't even have relationships with, and yada yada yada.
Yeah, and I think the other issue too when it comes to like fat shaming is that it doesn't, like, we live in a culture that's health obsessed. And while on the one hand, some of that's okay, I mean, it is good to be healthy, there's a lot of privilege tied up with the ability to eat well. And that's another issue with our culture, like, especially in the United States. So, you know, maybe, you know, Rachel, you can, I don't know if it's the same for you, but like, I mean, so that's another layer to this. I mean, that I've just become aware of, sort of as an adult, and obviously buying my own groceries, like how, if you want to eat well, if you want to lose weight, there's a lot of factors that affect that are beyond your control. Your income, I can't afford to shop at Whole Foods. I wish I could, because it's better quality food. I can't, you know, your income, your time. I mean, if you're working 2 jobs just to pay bills, you don't have time to like think about eating well. It takes a lot of energy. Cooking well takes a lot of time and energy. So yeah, so that's the other layer to this too. That it's like we were bringing up gender, and I think that's a factor too. But I think it's also class, and that's also really frustrating and sad.
Okay, so I have another question. So, where the hell does privilege and class come into play into standing up and walking a few laps around your block? Or
it's not that easy. It's not that simple. You have a lot of different factors, and you have a thing called food deserts where you can't get fresh fruits or vegetables.
I understand. I live in a city. I totally understand. But I'm just saying, where does privilege or class come into that part?
Well,
I think like
So,
it doesn't.
go ahead, Rachel.
Well, yeah. Well, one sec. Sorry, Rachel.
that's okay. We're all interrupting each other. We're all excited.
Yeah, I know.
It's a good topic.
It is.
I think like people's behavior, like, okay, being overweight is a really complicated thing. Like for some people, it is like, I don't know, like there's lots of reasons why people are overweight. And it's something that is the reason why people are overweight is because of like years of behavior, you know? So it's something that gets built up very, very slowly.
Yes.
And it's takes a lot to like change those behaviors. I don't know. It seems complicated.
Oh, go ahead.
But the privilege in the class thing is what I don't understand.
Oh, I think.
No, I see what she's saying. Like,
there's lots of data to back this up too. Your class background absolutely affects your weight and other health factors, cholesterol level, heart disease. There's a whole bunch of tons of data on this. So the relationship is to do with money and leisure time, and also critical thinking ability, which comes with education, which is related to class. So those are the three factors. So it absolutely is related to class in a lot of deep-rooted ways. The other way that the other factor is trauma. There's lots of data on how if you've experienced a trauma when you were younger, that can also affect your hormone levels and your mental health, which also affects your weight, which people don't always have control over. So yeah, I'm very anti making someone feel bad. And it's not as simple as just, go eat more fruit or go, run a few laps. I mean, it's really complicated.
Well, it's a lot more nuanced.
That means you don't actually care then. I mean, because this is a person's life you're talking about.
No, it'd be like, you can say something, but saying like,
yeah, sure.
If somebody's overweight and you, like, I think guilt is not a very good motivation. Like it just makes people feel worse. So if you want to help somebody change their behavior, you can like support them in what they would like to do. And I don't know. Do you see what I'm saying? Like there's a difference between encouraging somebody to like have healthier habits and like, and telling them that, like you could do it very differently.
Yeah. Yes, I absolutely agree. Yeah, I agree with you on that. But it's just, I mean, because I know you guys kind of like you run in the circles where it comes to like intersectional stuff and all that, and I'm almost 40, so I don't. I'm a liberal, but I don't go that far left. So I'm just trying to figure out like how like what the tone of the conversation is in your specific age group, because it's baffling to me. It's so baffling. I mean, if I took the same frame of mind with the things in my life that cause me struggle, Jesus Christ, I wouldn't get anything done. I would not get any. I have 4 daughters. My eldest daughter, she's about to start her PhD in microbiology and viral biology. My second daughter, she's 16. Then my next one is 12, and then my next one is 10. So it's like, and they're still in high school. So I'm living all of this at the same time. So I'm doing it with my girls because they're in junior high, high school, and university. And I kind of play around on YouTube a little bit. So I talk to adults like you guys who are also talking about the same thing. So I'm just trying to just kind of feel it out a little bit, because where I come from, I guess, with my tone is, say you were one of my girlfriends, okay? And let's say you've had a rough patch over like the last 2, 3, 4 years, and you've packed on like 40, 50, 60, maybe 100 pounds. Not because you had a baby, not because you got your knee hurt and you can't move around, your mobility, you just got depressed, just had to bury yourself in a cave, and now I'm worried about you. You're on medications, you're not coming out and seeing the sunlight. And I'd be like, okay, come on, let's go for a walk. Drag you out into the sunshine. That's number one. Get out into the sunshine. And I know for a fact, if you move your ass more and put less in your mouth, you don't get bigger. That's for certain. You don't get bigger. So it's like, it's pretty simple. Now, I know when it comes to the emotional stuff that kind of triggers people, start eating their feelings instead of experiencing them and dealing with them. I do understand that comes into play as well. Food affects me the opposite way than it does somebody else. who's like overweight or obese. I can't touch food. I can't even look at it when I'm stressed out or sad. It's like, nope, I have to focus on what is causing me pain, where my problem's coming from, and I have to destroy it. So then I can enjoy my food again and not feel like I have a knot in my throat constantly. So I get the emotional part, but if we don't start talking about this stuff from like a real level, on like an individual level, not like a group or a neighborhood of people who are in like at a fruits and vegetable desert in a metropolitan area. I live in an area like that. But I live in England. I don't live in America. Those areas are everywhere. But none of my family is obese here in England.
Yeah,
it has a lot to do with the food that's being prepared in the States.
That's the thing.
So if we're going to talk about privilege, it's like majority of the United States is white. So that means the majority of people in the United States
we're
talking about class privilege.
I know, but they're fat white people. They're fat white people, so it's like, how privileged are they? They're dying from heart disease.
So there's different ways that people can be privileged. So even if somebody's white, they may have other reasons why they're not privileged, like
absolutely. Also, I would like, can we let's change the subject.
So
because this is getting derailed.
Because I was thinking about because I was thinking about the level of gluttony. Because someone mentioned that gluttony is not just overeating; it's like the extreme, like gorging. Which, I mean, our conversations have been loosely based on the 7 deadly sins. So we don't always talk about the extreme sin, but there is this idea that gluttony is like eating more than when you're full, or like, or eating something because the food is desired, as opposed to needed. I know that in my, some of my family had those ideas, like, well, you eat until you're full, and then, which is great. Like, that's a great way, for me to eat and people, and it's great. But then, like, it's not okay to have chocolate cake if you're full, or have a piece, like a small piece. And so there's this level of gluttony that I've noticed that's sort of frowned upon in Christian circles. I haven't really seen outside, but it's sort of arbitrary to the Christianity thing for me. But anyway,
I had kind of a thought about that. I think, like, when I was a Christian, I was always trying to figure out what I should be doing, and that was the motivation for my behavior. And so it gave me like a lot of guilt. Like, if I wanted to enjoy something, it was like, oh, I shouldn't want that, or I shouldn't be eating that, so I couldn't enjoy it. Like, I remember last year I was at school and I was like trying to lose weight, but I was like, I want a treat. So I went and I bought like a chocolate bar or something, and I started eating it, and I was like, I felt really guilty. And then I was like, you know what? I want this chocolate bar. I'm going to enjoy it. And I just kind of decided that, like, I could do whatever I wanted. And that was a great moment. I don't know if it relates, but
I'm with you, Rachel. I've had those experiences too. Like, I think with food, and like also like alcohol. Again, I'm not talking about getting drunk. I mean, I've had that journey as well after deconversion, but just like learning how to appreciate the taste and
also like I can decide what I want to do. And if I decide that I want to enjoy something, whoever thinks, or even if it isn't healthy, I can just decide in that moment and enjoy it. I don't have to follow anyone else's orders. I just do what I want. That's nice.
Go ahead.
And it's not focused. It's not the kind of gluttony that the Bible, Bible. I have no idea where gluttony is in the Bible. I'm sure it's somewhere, but but it's not the kind that the Catholic Church talks about, right? But that is what it feels like sometimes. It is like, even like the slightest bit that's beyond moderation
can like
feel like
control.
A sin. Yeah, can feel like a sin. And yes, I mean, there are some good things about having that, but not social shaming. You know, social shaming shouldn't be a part of that. It should be for yourself, you know, assessing that, like, okay, like how far have I gone beyond this? And I know it's hard. It's hard for some people because like either accessibility or just not, that's not what you think about. That's not where your mind is, you know? And so I can kind of understand, you know, that too. So
yeah. I was just thinking like you can live your life and make the decisions that are best for you without feeling terrible for your decisions. Like you can just own your choices, and then that kind of takes the responsibility into yourself. And then you just, I don't know, I feel like that's a better way to live.
Yeah. It's funny. Godless Ione says apples. Did you not learn anything from the Bible? Fruit is bad. I love it.
Yeah, only for the owners of the uteruses. Everybody else is good.
Oh yeah, right? Yeah.
Just the chicks. Just the chicks.
Can't hang out with snakes and you can't eat fruit. It's like, what?
But yeah, that's kind of the dynamic of freedom, though, isn't it? When you have freedom, the more freedom you have, the more responsibility you have. So it's a lot of pressure, but it's also wonderful, though. I wouldn't wish anyone else to have like, or any state to have like a nanny state kind of thing where they like tax sugar and all this things like that. So
I live in one of those.
I think it's
I have to pay what, 40 cents extra for Coke.
I think like from the perspective of a company, they should like companies should be, I don't know, I feel like the government could do that to a company because I don't know, but like punishing individual people for their choices
happens anyway.
I agree.
Even if the government did tax the company, it would trickle down.
Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting question.
It's like you can't raise the prices, but here is let's tax on sugar, you know. So Carrie, how does the tax on sugar, do you feel like that does help your society? Just wondering.
Not particularly, because most of the beverages and stuff that people drink here is tea and coffee. And everybody adds sugar, like fuck tons of sugar to their tea and coffee here.
Yeah.
So if you go out and buy a Coca-Cola, and I'm so sorry, I'm trying not to like sniffle and stuff because there's some pollen or something floating around, and I've got an itty bitty tickle in my throat, so I keep clearing it. But it seems that there is, I mean, the weight issue problem is starting to turn into like what it is in the US. It's happening here, but it's happening across the board. It's not just happening to minorities. So that's freaking fascinating. But I don't think it's really making a difference. Like it all it does is it just, because if you buy Diet Coke, then you don't pay the tax. But Diet Coke's just as bad for you, or if not worse. So I don't know. It hasn't been in play, but I think a little over a year, maybe right out a year. So I think a little bit more time needs to pass by. But I don't know. We'll see. That's
really interesting.
That's always been strange to me. It's like you're going to control one specific beverage.
Oh yeah.
It's just like fizzy canned, those kind of sodas. So like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Sprite, or no, not Sprite. Sprite's not. It's just the caffeinated, sugared beverages. It's so strange.
Yeah,
I still drink Coke. I'm still sitting drinking it right now.
To be fair, though, the UK has always had its taste for sugar ever since they discovered the stuff. It was like gold.
Yeah.
I'm a honey person, so ton of sugar in my food, but it's all be natural.
I love
it. As my husband calls it, he calls it bee vomit. So yeah,
yeah, sure.
Basically, what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to cook with it.
For me, I feel like I'm either like eating tons of sugar and chocolate and whatever, or I'm like being really healthy. I'm trying to, in my life in general right now, I'm trying to like balance between extremes. That's kind of a theme for me. So like
that's pretty much all of us.
Yeah, I guess.
Pretty much all of us.
Good theme.
Yeah, that was kind of my thing too, is trying to find balance, because when I was in the occult, there was a lot of abstaining from food, a lot of fasting, a lot of let's not eat meat, let's try to do this and that and be more moral. And then when I dropped it, it was like, I'm eating all the things.
Yeah.
So, there has to be some kind of happy medium in between all that. That's perfect. But I think
that's just kind of life.
Yeah, it's a struggle for us all in many different aspects.
Yeah. So then how, as women, how do you feel the culture of food fits into your life? So whether it's like, how does, like, maybe you sit down to eat for families, maybe you, like at work, our boss likes to bond over food. He often will like take us out for breakfast or, whatever, just and just talk about our work. And try to innovate. And that's where we sort of spend time with each other. So it's really interesting because we've got this element of, this culture that surrounds our work life. And it's not just like, well, let's sit down over tea. It's let's sit down over smoked salmon on a bagel.
Yeah.
Expensive.
Okay, so I come from a really athletic background. So
Yeah.
I've always seen food as fuel to be able to get my butt moving and get the things done that I've needed to get done. And I've also seen it as a bonding experience, because we all cook for our families, and everybody, if you don't sit at a table, then you at least are eating at the same time. So I see it both as the same thing. And then sweet stuff is a treat, and then sweet stuff is a treat. But God knows I have my days, because I'm a female. PMS pops up, and I eat every carb that doesn't run away from me. So it just depends. But yeah, that's pretty much my relationship with food. Just fuel.
I love food.
Oh. Is there like a culture of food in your family?
In mine? My family's very Canadian, which means, well, okay, that's, you guys won't understand what I mean by that, but my mom's parents. So my mom's side of the family is Dutch, and my dad's side is Eastern European, but our family eats food from any and all backgrounds, and we live right next to Toronto, and it's very multicultural around here. So you can get food from like anywhere in the world, basically, and it's really nice because you see all the different cultures. So we just kind of make food from wherever. So no, we don't really have a specific food from a specific culture.
Do you think that multicultural attitude is a culture of food, or is it not? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, not a culture in terms of like,
well, everybody has culture. Like, there's definitely a way that we eat, and the food that we buy it's not just totally random. There's order, or some reasons for the food that my mom chooses to buy and make, or whatever, or I choose to buy and make. But
no.
What's your question? Like, is it influenced by the multicultural?
Well, okay. So, for example, like, I think personally, I'm trying to develop. This is just for myself. A like broader culture for my daughter. So I'm trying to like invite more authentic foods. That means like, and no, I still get like, hard taco shells at Hannaford from work, whatever it is, old El Paso or whatever the taco, like I don't, but I still try to look at authentic recipes and cookbooks and things and try to invite those things into our home. And we're not allowed to eat away from the table. So in essence, that's culture, you know what I'm saying? Whereas like my boyfriend came from a home where it was fine to eat wherever you wanted. They didn't eat at the table every night. It was a different culture. They had different family values, which was great. And I appreciate that. But I'm very strict when it comes to like, look, this is like the one thing that went right in my home. And not all the time, but for me, that's my culture.
Yeah. We also, my family, that was one thing we did that I always really liked was we had to sit at the table. We never had the TV was never on. No one was allowed to be on their phone while we ate dinner. And that was really great. But some things that my family did that now looking back, I, am sort of more critical of is that I think my parents weren't very good at like having us develop an enjoyment of the meal as an experience. And it wasn't until I've traveled and I've also lived in a couple of different places a couple of different countries where that's more the case. And also like within the US as well, just like been to other families where that's more the case. And I really like that. And so I don't have kids right now. But if I ever do someday, I would like to, that's the kind of culture I would like to instill.
Then you're going to have kids. They're going to be like, I'm not sitting at that table.
Yeah, I think
I'm sorry. It's so funny. Kids are absolutely amazing. You plan for one thing and they're like, oh, really?
My daughter's really good about being at the table, but she's 3.
Yeah.
With kids, all you can expect is chaos, really.
You hope for the best and expect the absolute chaotic worst.
Yeah, when I was little, we had to ask permission to leave the table. So
yeah, that's how we were.
It was like very strict. Like can I be excused? Are you done? Like I don't know. Order was kept pretty well.
And we
with
also
my
had
kiddos, I basically I wanted to make sure that I could see what they were eating and what they weren't. And I spent a lot of time with my kids, so it wasn't like a catch up for us at the end of the day, like it is for most people. But it's always a good way to start a conversation. And I didn't, because my girls, they're in the custody. Their dad has them this turn around, so they live in California with their dad. So right now he's doing all that stuff and creating their own little culture. And then following year, it'll be our turn. So anyway, oh shit, I just lost my train of thought. We talked about anything. It's almost 3 o'clock in the morning here. Come on now. Give me a little credit.
Really? Is it that late?
Yeah, it's late. But I left it wide open because we were allowed to talk about certain things at the dinner table whenever I was growing up. It always had to be like adult-led conversation, and then you just kind of add in your 2 cents. So I always just leave it wide open. You want to talk religion? Let's do it.
Nice.
You want to talk politics? Let's do it. But you better be prepared to not get your freaking feelings hurt.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I'm your mother, and I love
talking about actually religion at the food table. This is interesting. And I know, gluttony, blah, food. It sort of all comes together. But we prayed on Thanksgiving, and I cannot tell you how uncomfortable that is for me. It's been 11 years, and I'm still uncomfortable when people pray at dinner time, and then because the expectation is that you will join the circle, and it's not. It's like a social. There's no one says like bow your head and close your eyes. But
I'm so evil. I'm fixing to tell you something that I've done before. I volunteered to pray once.
Oh no!
Everybody just looked at me. They weren't gonna dare tell me no. They just looked at me like, "What?"
Yeah.
Because at that point they were pretty much aware, like he's not falling for it. But and I did, but I didn't. Obviously I wasn't praying to anybody, but I just said it out loud in the sing-song tone of prayer.
That's a good topic.
No, it's okay. Just thanking the people who prepared the food, who bought it, who spent their money, and who I was grateful to see, and blah blah blah. And not one mention of a deity. And when I opened my eyes, my preacher uncle's face was purple.
That's
purple. Oh, he was mad.
Yeah, so I live with, like, my family they're all Christian. And so when we eat together, if it's just one of them, they might pray by themselves. But if it's everyone, they pray. And I just, like, we don't have to hold hands or anything. Well, I did that when we were younger, but they don't do that anymore. And I just, like, don't participate. I just keep my eyes open and look up. But I don't mind. That's something that my family wants to do, and it doesn't really bother me. But if I remember, I don't know, I try to make a point of thanking the person that made the food, because I think that's more important to me than thanking God. Like,
yeah.
So that's what I do.
Thank
you so much for making this. I really like it. Like, I feel like it's so much more impactful. Like,
it throws me off big time.
It does.
Like, I get, and I'm like, man, this again.
I guess just because in your house you don't do that, right? I'm just so used to it. I grew up doing it, and it's always been happening, and I no longer participate. But I probably, if I moved out and I was on my own or whatever, and it wasn't that part of my own family culture or whatever, and I went back, it's probably gonna be weird.
Yeah, no, for real. And and for me, it wasn't. It's Kurt's. Whoa, my boy, my
bleep.
private information there. Whatever. So it's my boyfriend's parent. So it's weirder, right? Then if my mom says, let's pray, I'll be like, yeah, Mom, okay, whatever. This is the same way I was when I was a kid. I was like, yeah. I always kept my eyes open when we prayed.
Really?
It's weird. Like, why does God care if our eyes are closed?
You have always been a maverick, Christine. I was like full into the religion. I love you, Jesus. Yeah. Anyways,
you have to close your eyes so you can focus on the Word of God. Don't you know that?
It's so that we don't get distracted. That's what I always taught. You keep your hands together so you don't fidget, and you keep your eyes closed so you can focus on Jesus.
I still fidgeted.
Yeah.
My hands together, I'm like twiddling my thumbs. And...
Do you guys want to hear a funny story?
Of course. Always.
So we were over at my grandpa's house. What? We were over at my grandpa's house, and he was like, all right, everyone, I want you to close your eyes and fold your hands. So all of us kids went like this. And then one of us opens our eyes, and my grandpa's sitting there licking his plate. And he didn't want any of the kids to see. I mean, it's kind of just like a weird story.
Is gone. Godless Island, shout out to Godless Island. He should. Oh my God! Please do that, Mrs. Snarky. Please do that at some Thanksgiving. Just offer to pray, and then the two of you just leave with all the pie.
We should.
That would be amazing.
I mean, after the wedding we had, nothing would surprise them anymore. I don't know.
Oh, congratulations, by the way. I haven't spoken to you since you guys got married.
Well, thank you. I don't know if any of y'all saw the wedding ceremony, but Godless Iowan has it on his channel. It was hilarious because the prayer, quote unquote, was a Rickroll. God will never leave us. He'll never forsake us. Yeah, it was wonderful.
I thought you meant you didn't actually play the Rickroll song, right?
No, it was said. It was said in the prayer.
Okay.
It was such a brilliant idea, and it was.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. Nice. Very nice. Of course.
That's really nice.
Whose was it? Was it yours or his?
It was Godless Iowan's idea. He had it right before we were leaving to go to the place.
Perfect.
And he calls Godless Engineer. He's like, "Hey, will you do this?" It's like, "Oh, hell yeah."
Beautiful. So I noticed in the chat, so I know we backed away from this a little bit, but I just noticed a lot of women struggling with weight and this culture and here I go from Rickrolling to, but I just feel for these wonderful women who, really struggle and the struggle's real and it's all the time. And it's just this social idea that eating is the problem and you're disgusting if you eat, and like people who have their kids diet at like 8, you know, and what does that mean when a child is dieting? To me, that means parents are eating something else.
It means their parents don't have very good mental health and they're spreading it to their children.
Well, it's not that. It's also the like idea that like if you know that you were dieting when you were a kid, that means that your parents were eating something else than you were. Like, I don't think that I could ever. Okay, well, we do eat cookies when Eve doesn't, when my daughter doesn't, but like, but it's like one cookie, you know what I mean? But like, if you're on a diet and you're 8 and your parents are eating food in front of you that you don't, you know, whatever. I mean, maybe you could be on a diet together. I'm not sure.
That is so wrong. Okay, so I'll bring my kids into it again. My youngest, she has Down syndrome. So genetically, she is going to be predisposed to be obese or overweight just because that's just what comes with the condition. So we have to stay on top of her diet. She's not on a diet because she's just on a good nutritional daily intake program, whatever she just eats. The kid will choose broccoli and rice over any other type of food any day of the week. She'll choose a salad at lunch. I mean, you have to start these foundation habits when they are tiny.
Yeah,
you have to give a kid
example.
You have to be careful.
You have to be the example.
Oh yeah, you got to be example. Absolutely, that's what I'm saying. Those parents are awful for doing that. They're making their kid eat one way while doing something another way that their kid's gonna want to do because they see their parents doing it. That's a good way to build up resentment.
Yeah.
And
so
make an angry little kid.
What I'm seeing is the people who've been talking about this, actually their parents would do the diet with them. So that's good.
Yeah, that is really good.
Jen with 1 N said dad ate whatever because he was the man of the house. And you know, this is what this stream is about. It's about that like culture of like what the culture of women means, what it has meant, and how it's changing, you know. And I think that like we have to like bring these things to awareness. Like, why is it moms who are dieting with their kids and not family?
In my family, I've got 4 sisters and I don't have any brothers. So I don't know, like 3 of my sisters are naturally skinnier, just like smaller, and they can eat a lot and it doesn't affect them nearly as much. And then me and my other sister have struggled with our weight. So, and my mom. So, yeah, I don't know. For me, I've always felt that, like, as someone who struggled with this, I've always felt that, like, the overeating is more a symptom of other issues than the cause. So I think, like, once in my life I'm addressing those other causes, then
good for you.
It's not like I just need to not eat the foods. It's like I naturally don't want to, like, I naturally want better habits when I feel better about myself, and just, you know, other things are, you know, I'm working on the causes, not just the eating.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. My cousin, well, my aunt she was so funny about the food. She would count potato chips and things like that and like weigh the food. She would basically like give the kids like a half a sandwich and 7 chips and stuff. So she was really overly monitored about the food, and she would get up in the middle of the night and open the chip bag with a razor and reseal it. And she ended up with bulimia because there was so much focus on the food every single day. And now, since she had the bulimia and she was starving herself and she almost died, she was vomiting up blood because she had a hole in her esophagus.
Wow.
So the only way that people in my family can lose weight is to starve. Every single person in my family is fat. And she definitely got fatter after she was put in a facility to help her with her bulimia. She's healthier now than she was when she was skinny.
It goes back to the mental health thing again. It's so
goes back
amazing.
to the genetics.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
genetics. Well, bulimia is a mental health disorder. At that point,
yes, but the fatness.
I don't mean the fatness. That's what just the stuff that comes from food with women. Like, because we all back ourselves into this corner. I mean, seriously, if you just look around
ourselves. No, I mean, I think
yeah, you do. If you're happy with yourself, you don't care.
I think
we're autonomous beings, so certainly we make our own decisions. But I do think that part of what we're looking at, part of what we explore is how the social aspect comes into play with our feelings. Why do we?
Okay. So the question I asked Rachel a little while back. So what would you say? Do you think that you compete more with women, or do you feel more pressure from the male side?
I think that's like brings up questions in my mind about like what physically for a woman, what like appearance wise, what is more valued, and also like what establishes a woman's value in society or whatever. And I think
I was telling them before we got started is because I'm a professional makeup artist. So I deal with men and women in the beauty industry all the freaking time. So I see it from a different perspective. Like the beauty industry, it's populated by nothing but women. And they're the ones dictating like the trends of makeup and the hairstyles and all of that stuff that everybody's going to be picking up out into the public. Now,
I don't know if I can answer your question. I don't know, like from an evolutionary standpoint, like we are programmed to attract.
Huh? Hold on, go ahead, Rachel.
Yeah, just in your basic life. That's all I meant. But you can go deeper than that.
I feel like different people have different motivations for like why they want to look a certain way. But like evolutionarily, like you want to attract a mate, and like people are more attracted to people who
only now
are like healthier.
Yeah.
And if somebody is like massively obese, that's not something that's considered healthy. And like I don't know.
Yeah, and
I don't know.
It's a very complicated question to try to work out and figure out. And I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer. I was just curious as to what you guys thought. That was it.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. That's a good question. Are we getting? Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm just thinking, like, are we getting pressure from what, like, potential, interest or whatever would think of me, or is it more like other women judging me? I don't know. I feel like it's everything.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's a lot of data on this, and again, it's really both. And when you're talking about any kind of from a cultural perspective, cultural ideology, dominant ideology, which in Western cultures, we live in cultures that are obsessed with physical appearance and obsessed with a particular kind of beauty, which is thinness. Women are certainly in our culture more of the victims, and women putting pressure on other women is just another symptom of that larger problem. So it's not, I think I see that as a non-issue, whether or not we're competing with women or with men. The bigger point remains the same, which is that we are under an incredible amount of pressure, and it's pressure that is disproportionately affects women. That's not to say it doesn't affect men, and there's more data, recent data in the last 10 years.
It doesn't really affect men though. That's the thing, because they don't. No, it does. They don't care.
There's actually quite a bit of data on how men have eating disorders have increased rapidly with men. And other body issues.
Eating disorders, of course, but I mean, in the overall aspect of it, men don't care what they look like.
Yeah, again, there's data that disproves that, though. But that's a recent development. So,
and I've dated people that I couldn't keep away from the mirror. I mean,
well, that's big.
It depends on the guy.
Okay, hang on. So I work in the beauty industry, and most of the faces that I paint are going to be women. I mean, I do men's makeup as well. Like that's a newer thing that's starting to pop up, but they're just reacting to all of us. Like we're dictating their behavior just as much as they're dictating ours.
I think there's beauty standards for both women and men, and the beauty standards that are applied on women are I don't know what you guys think of this. Maybe they're like it's farther away from the way that women naturally look without any
actually,
and for men it's a bit closer, but still they both have that pressure. That's
so I
don't know what you guys would think about that.
So I disagree a little, Rachel.
Okay.
Only because it is impossible for my boyfriend to get a six-pack without serious dieting. And a six-pack is the like epitome of a male body.
Yeah.
And it is really, really, really tough to do. And I think it is easier for a woman to figure out a way where she especially I do think this is changing, and I do think this has something to do with the data that Heather was talking about. I don't know, I would love to read some of that, Heather, if you have anything offhand.
Yeah, I can send you some.
Yeah. But I do think that there's starting to be this openness where dress to your body type, dress how you feel. There's a lot more stores like Torrid and like who tailor to different body types. I mean, we see commercials who are like they're just expressing that they sell clothes that are tailored to shorter people and people with pear shapes or different shapes, and I think that's great, but I don't see that on the male side as much, and males are just as many shapes,
Yeah.
and so even though Heather or Rachel, I do think that what an element of what you're saying is true. I do think we're changing without changing for men as well, because we think like they already have it, but they don't, and now they're starting to feel it.
Well, one thing I would like to point out is that women can consume way less calories and they still have difficulty losing weight, whereas men, they can have
you think that estrogen for that one, girl.
Yeah, so it's significant. So it's significantly more difficult for us to get a six-pack than a man, because you got to get through all that fat first. So we're fighting our bodies constantly in terms of trying to lose the weight.
There you go, right there. You're fighting your body. Why are you fighting it?
Because women have a higher fat percentage than men. Naturally.
Yes.
Well, no,
that's all you're saying, right, Jen?
Why would you fight it though? There's so many resources out there that you could help you figure it out. So it wouldn't be a fight anymore.
It's hyperbole. But anyway, what I mean is it's a constant struggle to try to lose the weight, because what the female body does is it says, hey, we must store fat because we have to make babies. And that's what we must do, is preserve these calories and turn them into fat. They're just in case there's like a famine or whatever. And so we're genetically prone to maintain the weight a lot more than men are.
Now, I always had this idea that men are under less pressure in that area, but I also grew up with 4 sisters, and I think my experience isn't representative of everyone.
Probably not.
But general, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have an older brother who has friends. I've grown up with all older male cousins. I mean, I had a few girls sprinkled in there, but having an older brother, I mean, I ran a little bit more tomboyish than my female cousins. So I would only hang out with them like when we would see them on holidays and stuff like that. So I was always dirty and running around and getting into trouble with the boys, of course, until I grew boobs. And then that was off the table.
Which are all fat, by the way.
Baby feeders. Baby feeders. But it's interesting because I can see the male side of this conversation, and I can see the female side of this conversation.
Yeah, and I do think we can too. And if we sat here and explored that, I'm sure we could put our minds to that. I mean, that's part of this is like saying, yeah, okay, you know, socially, yes, women do have some struggles. Men also have struggles, but let's talk about the women's struggles specifically, because we have less of a voice, I feel, especially on channels or on YouTube channels and things. And so, so just saying, yeah, Jen, I feel you. That it's really hard to work out with big boobs, just saying.
Yeah, things will flop up and hit you in the face.
But yeah, so I do think that, you have a good point. And I think it's a fun thing to talk about, definitely, to think about, like, well, let's put ourselves in the guy's shoes and do that. But I want to just end, because it's 10:01 soon, end soon because it's 10:01 now. But I want to say, like, I want women who are like overweight or too skinny, or, you know, maybe comfortable and feel bad that they're comfortable with their weight, you know, just to feel welcome here. And I, like, we're here to, like, explore those things and help you to process them. And whether that's like,
here to shame you, nobody. Don't shame the skinny girls either. I get shamed all the damn time on Twitter and on YouTube.
For real,
Screw you guys. I can't help it. It's genetic. And no, I don't eat a bunch of bullshit. I just eat what I need to eat to keep me walking around and stuff. So it happens on the other side too. And no, it's not acceptable to fat shame.
And men, you are welcome to be any weight you want and enjoy our cast. You know, welcome. We welcome all types and shapes and all levels of gluttony. You know, I mean, I think until you can. You just feel
we didn't even touch on the gluttony of social media. We didn't even touch on the gluttony of social media.
Oh, sure, yeah. I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will.
Yeah, that could be another topic.
Yeah,
I think there's so much more to people than their appearance, and like
it's because you're young.
A lot of there's I don't know. I feel this pressure too. I think it's just a human thing to, like, look at somebody and make judgments. That's kind of how we're wired. Yeah. But if you think about, you know, people are so much more than just what they look like. And as somebody who has been overweight and is overweight, it's like, I appreciate it when people get, you know, don't judge me. So
right, it's the support that we need to give first. Like, before you can say to anybody, like, lose the weight or gain the weight or stop eating, you need to say, like, welcome. You know, be here with me, be who you are. And I understand that you're struggling, and let me struggle with you, or let me just connect with you.
Or just, like, accepting people for who they are and saying, like, I see you right now. I know what you look like. I know who you are, and I accept you. You're okay. You're valued. Yeah. You know, I think that's really
important. Support works a lot better than shame.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Absolutely. So anyway, our last thing, has anybody had a gluttony moment in the last week? Just go around. Heather, have you?
Have I, in terms of food, I just really love chocolate, and I eat chocolate a lot. But again, for me, like, my vice, if you want to call it that, is drinking. And I don't drink excessively, but I do really enjoy a good beer and a good cocktail. So I've had a couple of those this week. So that was nice.
I'm jealous. I'm so jealous.
Karen, have you experienced the gluttony?
Yes, I have. I made homemade macaroni and cheese, and I ate every bit of it.
Very nice.
Sounds good.
Bit of it.
Now, Mrs. Snarky, we know, is not just recently didn't even eat dinner. So, Miss Snarky.
Well, I've got to make up for it tomorrow, because tomorrow I plan to have an entire bottle of wine.
Okay, plan. People.
That is a good plan.
What about you, Rach? That candy bar?
Well, that was like a year ago. Yeah, the past couple of days I've been feeling like restless and going through some emotions, so I've been eating a lot, which is nice, but I don't know. Once I deal with the emotional stuff, then the eating goes down. But I don't know. I love food. I don't know. I'm gluttonous frequently.
Listening.
Hey, but here's the light at the end of the tunnel. You're not going to hell for it. Hey.
Oh yes.
Yay!
At least as far as we know. Anyway. Yeah, and so I have these little raspberry, they're like raspberry filled cookies, and they have like peaks on top of peaks on them, and they sell them at Au Bon Pain.
That sounds so good.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's really good. And I'm learning how to make them because I want to make them for Christmas, and I eat a lot of them.
They're
You're gonna burn yourself
now
out.
I'm getting hungry.
They're so good. I know. All right. So thank you, ladies, for sharing this conversation. Thanks, everybody, for sharing and talking to us. Wonder Lady, Jen with 1 N, Godless Iowan, you lifted up the chat quite a bit, so thanks for that. Mrs. Snarky, you guys can, you should get a room because I see what you're doing here.
Giggity.
We had Tatted Atheist who had good things going on. There's some other people who were very active in the chat. So I appreciate all of you. Join us next month. We're going to be talking about either a sloth or what's the other one?
What is the other one?
Sloth or
have we done? No, yeah, we already did that one.
The gluttony, greed.
Yeah.
Greed. That's not greed. So yeah, join us, and thanks for being with us.
All right. Bye, everybody. Good night.
Bye. Good night.